Good morning. Nice of you guys to drop by.
What a piece of junk. What are you talking about?
Don't be too proud of this technological terror you've constructed.
Look, don't worry. Everything's gonna be fine. Trust me.
I don't know what all this trouble is about, but I'm sure it must be your fault. Don't get technical with me.
This bickering is pointless.
Don't everybody thank me at once.
I don't know where you get your delusions, laser brain.
I'm glad you're here to tell us these things.
How could you even say that?
I got a bad feeling about this.
Well, come on. Everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
Would you get going, you pirate?
Get in there, you big furry-o! I don't care what you smell!
I'm getting too old for this sort of thing.
If what you've told me is true, you will have gained my trust.
I like the sound of that.
Get a shuttle ready.
I don't know. Fly casual.
Shuttle Tydirium, what is your cargo and destination?
Transmission commencing.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks again for riding the Shuttle Tydirium podcast. We are the mothership of Casual X-Wing. I am your host and captain, Jim Chadwick, also known as Hey Chadwick on the forums. And I do have sitting next to me, Phil. How you doing, Phil?
I'm all right. Unfortunately, someone has stolen all the toys out of our Cracker Jack boxes that were the in-flight snacks for tonight. So it's just popcorn now. Sorry.
All right. So no Dakota rings for you. And we do have with us tonight our chief engineer, Jake the Brake.
Hey, I'm back in action. I had a brief stint on an Imperial Star Destroyer. Actually, it was really wonderful. I got a up close and personal look at their shield system. So we should be able to modify our own Shuttle Tydirium with a few upgrades.
Excellent. I hear their cafeterias are awesome.
They are. That mess hall was great.
Yeah, we just get ration bars, but oh well. But that's
sometimes
no problem.
We get fresh meat sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks to our next crew member.
Right. We have our cranky protocol droid. We have J-Bot. How's it going, J-Bot?
I don't understand why people are complaining about their Cracker Jacks when I'm just trying to keep everybody on the shuttle safe by getting rid of foreign objects from their food.
Excellent. Well, thank you for safety. Safety first, right?
Yeah, you don't want to choke on one of those things when you're down in a box. So,
right. Excellent. Well, I think we should go ahead and roll straight into the captain's question. And it's just a very quick one. Who is your favorite character from Episode 7? So, J-Bot, I don't want anybody grabbing your options, so let's go straight to you.
Oh, no. You put me on the spot here. Favorite character from Episode 7.
We could move on. I could go on.
Yeah, I'll let you guys go. I got to think.
Jake.
Yes. All right. I think that if I had to choose a favorite character from Episode 7, I would choose Captain Phasma, who, in case you don't know, is the clad in platinum armor, the stormtrooper that's clad in platinum.
It was chrome.
Or chrome. There you go. The chrome trooper. And she kind of gives
Captain
all the
overhype.
Exactly. Who looked so cool before the movie started, and then for all those previews, but then as soon there was like 2 lines, and then she's done, and she gets thrown in a trash compactor. But I like her because she did have a lot of anticipation for the movie, and even though she didn't perform in the movie, I wonder if they'll bring her back. But also in the game that I play, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, she's a very potent character. So I end up using her a lot.
All right, so you dig her for that. All right, J-Bot, you ready now? Because Phil's the one who usually takes your...
Yeah. I do not remember his name, but the Imperial officer guy, if y'all probably know the name, but the one who's essentially leading or commanding the gigantic station. I cannot think of his name.
The Hitler guy, the fascist Imperial officer?
Yeah, General Hux.
Yeah, it was. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm sitting there watching the movie, and the very first time he comes on screen, I'm like, man, this guy seems weird, like an odd choice for I hate to say that role, but that's what I'm thinking as I'm going through the
little young.
Watch the movie. And I was like, yeah, he seems really young. It doesn't really make sense. But by the end of it, I was, not that I'm fascinated by this character, more that I was very impressed. I was like, wow, like he really pulled off the viewpoint I always had as a kid growing up as the Imperials of like, these people are as close as you're going to get to that kind of fascist, overbearing regime. And I'm like, this guy really pulled it off. Everybody else was cool, but I was like, he kind of exceeded my expectations, if that makes sense. Like from when he first came on screen to by the end of it, I was very impressed. And I guess that's why everything else was cool, but it was more the expectations that he exceeded is kind of why I liked him as a character.
Cool.
For me, I think Nien Nunb is my favorite. I think he had a lot of cool lines.
Name one of them.
Yati yati.
That's what a Jawa said.
No, that's Sullustan. That's
he could have made that up, and I wouldn't.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, and I figure, he's come a long way. He was co-pilot of the Falcon and the Death Star. And in just a short 20, 30 years, he made it all the way to piloting an X-Wing.
That's terrible.
So,
that's a great
what
career.
the hell happened? Why isn't he a general? What is he? Did he have, did he fall in hard times? Did he have like a, did he get addicted to glitter stim? And he had to like work his way back from the bottom? Did he retire and then he's coming out of retirement? He's actually like a really old Sullustan.
I want to read Bloodlines because that's supposed to really go into like what happened after.
I'm gonna either read or write the definitive Nien Nunb fan fiction. What had happened to Nien Nunb?
You might be the one. You might be the one that's gonna worry about that fan fiction.
I will be the one to read it.
Well, that's good. There we go. You guys can write it for each other. Tell me how good it was.
All right. So I'm kind of torn. I kind of like Hello Asti, the Hello Nasty Beastie Boys guy, but doesn't really do much. And if I had to pick a main character, I'd probably pick Finn, just because he doesn't know what he's doing. But I think overall I'd go with Snap Wexley, because I like the book where he's a kid, and I like the actor ever since he was in Alias, etc. And I just kind of like that guy. So I think Snap Wexley is my favorite character overall.
So not to derail us into the realm of the movies, but just a random question. So Finn was essentially like janitorial squad, right? Like janitorial staff. Why was he on a landing party? I'm just curious. Like gigantic spaceship, probably lots and lots of soldiers, at least based on the one scene where my favorite character is doing his Hitler thing at the front. Like 20 people landed and they just took the janitor with them, or was it just happened to be cleaning the ship that day? Just curious. I didn't know if anybody had read a fanfic. Didn't know if there was a fan fiction out there that explained it. Yeah, it was his turn, like his number. Oh crap, that sort of thing. Like just. Ding,
I think that he was working sanitation during his training, or so because he was abducted as a child, right? Because that's how they get their troopers.
Yeah, that's generally the idea.
So probably when he was growing up, when he was too young to be a stormtrooper, he was working sanitation. And then
okay, I'll buy that.
I think this is right. But they actually did go into this in one of the side mini novels or something.
Yeah, that's why I figured somebody would know. I mean, he makes mention in the thing that essentially, if it's got a gun, I can shoot it. So
yeah,
he's obviously trained. It was more just a curiosity in my head. Was it the same thing as like Nien Nunb, where he was really good and then he did one thing wrong, pissed off Phasma, and now he's back doing cleaning toilets. I figured one of you guys has read all the books around the movie, so I thought maybe there was an actual explanation there. But okay, that's all I want.
Cool. All right. So I want to ask, how is your contest going, J-Bot?
Oh, it's going quite well. We've got some pretty interesting entries. I think they've got a steep hill to climb to beat mine, personally.
J-Bot, you can't make entries into the contest under your own name, obviously.
Well, why would I put them under my own name? I mean, I'm not that dumb. I mean,
what?
I mean, no, we've got plenty of entries, people. So keep them coming in. There's lots of good entries that we've seen so far, but nothing.
Yeah,
that...
I mean, yeah. I hope you aren't making entries under fake names.
No. These are all the ones I've seen are all real people, as far as you guys know. But no, yeah.
Please,
please keep sending in entries. We're definitely enjoying the ones that we get because they're hilarious and some of them very, very interesting. That would be fun, honestly, to play with. So please, send them in to the.shuttle.tydirium@gmail.com. I think this is going to be the last time I'm going to call for it. I'm going to go ahead and say that next episode we're just going to call the winner, read his out, whoever the person might be.
Right. So please, it doesn't matter. Just send it in. Even if you just got 1 or 2 pilot ideas, just send it in because it'll be funny. And please don't let him win. Yeah.
Why am I not allowed to win? I mean, I'm not putting any in under. I mean, I'm not putting any in. Why would I put any in? That would.
Right.
I mean, all contests always say, like, when you buy a burger at a place and you get like a little Monopoly piece, that people who work there can't win, or relatives.
Yeah, obviously.
However, they figure that out.
Glad we cleared that up.
All right. Well, I do. Before we move into the main segment, I do want to do a quick mention. We did get an email from Biff, who is a fellow who actually wanted. We didn't put it in show notes about a thread where I talked about the trench run, where I talked about all the new things you can do and ask for strategy and stuff on the FFG forums that we said we'd put in the show notes. We didn't. We'll fix that. But he, this is from episode 4, the trench run. And actually, I love the trench run mission, and it is one of our least downloaded episodes ever, which is a little sad for me because this mission is one of my favorite missions and things to ever run with X-Wing. Like, it's just under Heroes of the Aturi Cluster, and people just haven't downloaded the episode. But Biff, he actually loves the mission as well, and he runs every year at Gen Con his own variant of the Dagobah Dave trench run mission. So he was telling me about it, and he gave me a link to it, and since everything that was different wasn't covered in red like FFG errata, I kept asking him questions, and he's really tweaked it a bit. He's actually kind of added in a bit more ships. So he's kind of got a order of battle. So basically like 10 ships on each side. You've got all the pilots that were there. And it looks really cool. And I'd love to try it, but we're trying to get into Epic Games lately. But I'm itching to try it again because it looks really cool. So I'll try to put a link to that in the show notes. And so if you have no idea about the Trench Run mission or Dagobah Dave's, you really should go back to episode 4 and listen to it because I really like that particular mission. It's one of the best things about X-Wing. So I'll just leave that there. It's pretty cool. And we will put it in the show notes. Note to self. Put in show notes. Excellent. So thanks a lot, Biff. I do appreciate it. Wish I could make it to Gen Con one time to try it. But
honestly, that sounds good.
We got to get to some of these conventions at some point.
Yeah. Oh, and the new ships are for sale tonight.
They were all over the place.
Yeah, my last time where I can't get to the game store, but I should make it this weekend. So that's pretty exciting. I'm happy about that. Excellent.
All right.
Cool. So do we want to do the main news segment?
Yeah. So we're going to talk about the Heroes of Resistance preview that came out for the T-70s.
The Galaxy's greatest.
Yeah, Galaxy's best pilot. I forget who that is.
There's the quote: "Red Squad, Blue Squad, take my lead." Poe Dameron.
So what new things do we see here? We saw several new T-70 pilots. We saw a couple of interesting tech upgrades that actually have people excited, as opposed to most tech upgrades, which have sort of been ho-hum so far.
Right.
So
and
let's.
The new
yeah, obviously the modification. There's I guess they spelled out the vector thrusters, which I think is what we're were expecting, weren't we? Or was that in a previous?
Yeah, I think we had that already. Yeah.
Well, I didn't know if we had already seen it specifically, or if we had just assumed we had seen it because it was in the background of other shots.
No, actually, it's in Wave 9. I think it's in the...
it's in the arc.
Is it? Okay. Sorry, I was clicking through all the different things they posted on their thing, so it just came up as one. So.
Yeah. So we also have a snapshot, EPT, and a new droid to look at.
Oh yeah, the new droid as well, new astromech.
Right.
Excellent. So, Jake, do you want to go ahead and tell us about Nien Nunb? Though maybe we should give that to Phil because it's his favorite pilot. So.
I think since Phil can speak the language, he might be a good candidate.
Yeah, it says. Let's see. Let me pull up his ability. 1 second here. Where is Nien Nunb? Here we go. Okay, so which translated means when you receive a stress token, if there is a enemy ship inside your firing arc at range 1, you may discard that stress token. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So he automatically de-stresses himself if there's an enemy ship at range 1 in arc.
And the T-70 has boost.
Right. And this also works well with one of the tech upgrades, which we should talk about here. I think it's Pattern Analyzer. So Pattern Analyzer reads, when executing a maneuver, you may resolve the check pilot stress step after the perform action step instead of before it. So the check pilot stress step is the point where you look at the color of the maneuver you just made, and you either remove a stress from a green maneuver or you assign yourself a stress from a red maneuver. So it usually comes before you do an action, right? But with Pattern Analyzer, you have the option to wait until after your action step to give yourself the stress from your maneuver.
So let's say you do a Talon roll.
Right.
You can take the action and then get the stress.
Right. You don't lose your action.
But if you're already stressed, you're just stressed.
Yeah. I mean, it's not really going to help you there.
Yeah, I was a little confused at first when I first read it. I was like, wait, what? Does that mean you're never affected by stress? No, it just means if you do a red maneuver, you don't gain it until after the action. But if you already are stressed, it doesn't do diddly.
So the way this works with Nien Nunb is that he can do like a Talon roll, then boost, and then get the stress from the red Talon roll. Or, if he's at range 1 of somebody, not get the stress because of his ability.
Yeah. And, a lot of times, I think people overuse push the limit too often. But I think actually this is one time that it is, acceptable to actually even talk about it in the article. Where I wouldn't go.
We'll allow it.
Limit. Oh, he's got to do push the limit, huh?
I mean, the thing is, if you put push the limit on Nien Nunb, then that means you're not going to be at pilot skill 9 because he's a natural pilot skill 7. So that's not taking the veteran instincts and going to pilot skill 9 would be the unconventional choice, I think.
Well, it would
pilot
be the
skill
non-tournament choice, so
yeah.
I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah. So, but there's a ton of things that you can actually do with him that are unconventional. Like you could give him rage, for one. Because normally the drawback to rage is a 1-point EPT that lets you re-roll up to 3 attack dice and gives you a focus token for 1 action. It's an action to do that, and it gives you 2 stress, and that's the downside. But if you have Nien Nunb, and you're, triggering his ability, then you don't get any stress. That's
awesome.
The
part that's amazing to me is that it doesn't say once per turn. It's just any stress you get as long as you're at that range 1 in arc. I think I assume you guys are getting into it, but that new droid that's there too is a very interesting kind of, at least to me, combo that goes with it. Because it's like, well, you know what? I don't need to take stress this turn, but my little droid can make essentially both of us get a stress, and if I'm close to the target, I can just dump mine. So essentially, just
R3.
forcing the R3A2.
Yeah, R3A2 stress bot, well-known stress bot.
Yeah, and I think that's a very interesting combo with him too, because it's like, oh look, I can not only just ignore whatever stress I'm getting anyway, but I can give you one on top of it and still ignore the one that I'm going to take. It's an interesting ship. It feels pricey, but at the same time, it's a pilot skill 7 with a lot of interesting, really mess with your opponent sort of ability combos you can do.
And just thinking rage on Nien Nunb, he's at range 1. He's rolling 4 red dice. He gets to re-roll 3 of them. He kept the focus. You know, it's going to hurt. I can just see Nien Nunb saying, you know, you won't like me when I'm angry, but you do it, no.
That's just gibberish.
Right.
It's not actual Sullustan, but okay.
Right, but I think he's pretty cool. I think you know, he could do some neat stuff, and that I think he's a good addition to the game. It is pretty cool. There is one thing I forgot about Nien Nunb. They mentioned stay on target, and I like that because no one ever really uses the card. And I've tried to use it a few times just for fun. But with Nien Nunb, you know, he can change his speed, you know, or his maneuver, not change his speed, but change which direction he goes, you know, when he reveals his dial, but it turns it red. So, and if he can change where he goes and make sure he's got someone in range 1, he could really kind of get up there and nail someone with stay on target. So that was one thing they actually mentioned in the article, and I approve of that. I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, for Snap, I think he's pretty crazy. All the different things you can do. You know, it's just kind of like Juno, the TIE Advanced pilot. You do all the crazy stuff. But yeah, and that's the other tech for 1. So 1 point prime thrusters, 2 points pattern analyzer. So pattern analyzer is usually the better option, but it's double the points. But I think prime thrusters works. I think they each have their place.
Oh yeah.
Cool. So you want to tell us about Jess Pava?
Mr. Jess Pava, who flew under the call sign Blue 3, the very same.
Yes, that's her.
All right. Jess Pava. She's got pilot skill 3. She's got when attacking or defending, you may re-roll 1 of your dice for each other friendly ship at range 1. And she's got her tech slot, astromech droid, and torpedo.
Yeah, no EPT, and she's pilot skill 3.
25 points.
What do you guys think of that? Like, what do you think, J-Bot?
Not being the expert here, obviously, she seems like a very strong sort of wing woman, wing man, wing it. However, I guess I don't know that I would. I don't know
Probably
that I
not
would
wing it, but
right,
okay.
I mean, I don't know what.
She's a wing person.
Or wing person. I don't know. Maybe it's a different species, and they have
squad mate.
Squad mate.
She's a
there
human.
You go.
So.
To me, it doesn't seem like something you'd build a list around, but more something that's complementary to almost a large ship list. Is to me not like 2 large quote unquote ships, but a list that has like 4 ships in it. I guess is what I'm thinking to myself, because otherwise her kind of special ability doesn't really get used unless she is in a group of other people. And range 1 really isn't super close if you only have 2 or 3 ships on the table. So. In my opinion, it's more of a, hey, let's surround her with a bunch of other ships, and suddenly she becomes at least relatively formidable. Point cost wise, I don't know if she's expensive or not, but for an X-wing, she seems pretty cheap.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah, I think she's a very interesting pilot. Obviously, she wants to be flying in a formation. I think she wants to be flying at like the front of the formation.
Oh yeah,
because. That's where she'll maximize her attack by, you know, maybe getting the range 1 or 2. And also she'll minimize the enemy return fire either by re-rolling her defense dice if they attack her, or if they choose not to attack her and they decide to attack ships that are farther away, so that you would be getting those defensive range bonuses. So this is a good way to like force your opponent into making a bad decision, is to fly the ship in front of a formation.
Yeah, I do like the defensive ability as well. So I mean, it's reroll one of your attack dice, and it works as many times in a round as she gets shot at, or shoots.
Right, which I really like.
Yeah, so I think it's a really good ability. I'm pretty impressed with it.
Yeah, this is also an ability that really wants to have like access to a lot of focus tokens that are being like fed to her by somebody. Or
that's what I was thinking too. That either having people giving her focus tokens, like through the Hawks sort of thing, for example, or is the other one that lets you borrow their focus tokens? That's not a Republic pilot, is it?
No, there's the
K-Wing.
Is it the K-Wing? Is it the K-Wing?
Yeah, but his
the generic
one thing that I always forget with him is that his focus tokens are only used for attack, so you can't borrow them for defense.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that's a real bummer.
Good call.
But then there's like Garvin Dries, you
Right.
know, Red Leader,
He's
who
helpful.
after he uses it, he can pass it on. Or Aryan Kraken, who, you know, gives a free action, so.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, so I like her. I think she's pretty cool. You know, PS3, she's not, you know, game breaking or anything, but I think she's a good addition.
Yeah, definitely. It's a solid pilot ability.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a solid ship. I don't see it as something that would just get thrown away. I certainly think it would be fun in a list, you know, of X-wings, which is kind of the point.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. And so, with that, we've gone through the new pilots and the new tech. We have basically an EPT and also the astromech. Do we want to talk about the astromech first? I kind of want to for some reason.
Okay.
And I've heard this one called Mindgate, which is M9 G8. So M9, like M9 gate. So
is there like a reference that I'm missing there? Or?
No, it's just like M9. So if it was like a license plate, you could say mine, and G8 be gate.
Wouldn't it be like M9 gate?
Yeah, but everyone, that's too weird. People just say mine gate.
So the N is silent, like a.
Jeez, Phil, get hip with it.
Yeah.
The N is always silent.
Okay.
Yes. You know, but or at least M9 gates. At least the gate works. But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. So I'll read it off. When a ship you have locked is attacking, you may choose one attack die. The attacker must re-roll that die. You can acquire target locks on other friendly ships.
All right, I see what it's doing, but I'm confused why I'd want to do that.
So,
if
you wanted to put a target lock on a friend, you can make your friend ally re-roll one attack die. Let's say he rolls a blank.
That would be good if you could re-roll a blank.
Right.
Yeah. But if it's an enemy attacking you, maybe you make him re-roll his critical hit.
Right. I mean, you know, I understand it for like making an enemy re-roll, but I was just more confused why I'd want to spend 3 points to have, I guess, my own ship re-roll one when there seems like there's more efficient ways of getting my one that other ship to re-roll more than one die.
Yeah, I'd say the one possible. I mean, it is pretty limited, right?
Right. I mean, it's either like a really hard support droid, or like really hard focus support droid, or it's a pretty decent like dice modifier.
The one nice thing about this is that it's a way of increasing the attack power of one of your friendly ships without putting that modification like that upgrade card on the ship that you're increasing the value, the attack value of. So that's good for a couple different reasons. One is that you can stack more mods on that ship's dice, right? So if the best that you can normally do is like push the limit and fire control system or some other, and your pilot ability, now you can have push limit, fire control system, pilot ability, plus the reroll from M9 and G8, right? So you're making yourself a little more powerful. And if you blow up the ship that has all that crap on it, you don't lose the capability of this droid to make, like, say, another ship powerful.
Right. Yeah, I get that.
I like that it's versatile. That basically you can use it, when someone's attacking you, and you're getting ready to joust someone, you throw the target lock on someone, and boom, you mess up their shots on you. But then let's say there's a crucial moment where you've got Wedge needing to blow up that TIE Phantom, and he bumped, but boom, you throw the target lock on him, and he gets to alter some dice, or it's both a support and a debuff ship that you can use in numerous different ways. I think it's pretty cool in that regard that it's. And let's say you've got someone like an ARC 170 that can take an astromech, and then a crew with, say, weapons engineer. Boom, boom, you've got 2 target locks out. That means 2 people are, you get to modify their dice.
I guess I could see it, now that I'm thinking about it, I guess I could see it as a form used in combination also with Dutch, since he can allow one of his other ships to pass a target lock, and you don't always have that ship in range to get a target lock on something you want. So if nothing else, he could obviously, hey, just target Dutch again, so that Dutch gets a better shot at whatever the heck he's doing until he gets in range. I guess I could kind of see it. I don't know how often I would use it, or at least in a list, but I guess I can kind of see its versatility.
Well, there's also Tarn Misson, where normally he was set up and you give him, what is it?
R7.
R7, which basically says, because Tarn Misson says when anyone attacks you, or Tarn gets a target lock on that ship. And R7 says once per round, you can spend that target lock and make them reroll as many dice as you want. So I think R7's 2 points as opposed to the 3 for this, but it only works once per round. If you're Tarn, and you're using R7, you only get to do that once. But if you're Tarn and you've got this guy, Mindgate, you can, everybody that shoots at you, you can modify one of their dice. So I guess it depends on how many people are shooting at you. Do you want to modify more dice on one shot, or if you're kind of the sacrificial lamb out in the middle of a bunch of TIE swarms, you'd rather have this guy?
One other thing you could do with this is, say you have it on an arc with a weapons engineer, and you have a couple of target locks on 2 different friendly ships. If those ships have multiple attacks per turn, then you can end up modifying a lot more dice. So let's say you have the ARC 170 weapons engineer and this droid, and you have 2 Y-wings with twin laser turret. Then you can modify,
or the BTO.
You can be re-rolling, 4 dice if they have normal turret, or possibly 6 dice a turn if they have BTLA 4 and they get shots. So that could be, that's a lot of rerolls.
Yeah, that is a lot, actually.
That does, it does start to turn into a whole bunch of them too.
It's like guaranteed hits all over the place.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Well, no, but that 1 die reroll actually makes a pretty big dent on the TLTs, because that essentially is giving you a free, I hate to say target lock, but it's giving you a free piece of 1 on both shots, not just that. You got to choose. A lot of times with TLTs, you got that. Do I use it now or do I wait for the second one, sort of thing? And this is like, yep, I can use it on both shots and don't even have to think twice.
Or free Predator.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
Yeah. And if you put it like the ARC 170, you've got Weapon Engineer, you can throw it on 2 different ships. Boom and boom. You can.
It costs 6 points to do it, though. So.
Yeah.
But it's the thing is that it's good while those Y-wings are shooting, but it's also good when when those Y-wings are gone and the ARC 170 is being shot at, because you can target lock 2 enemy ships and negatively modify their dice.
Yeah.
Those kinds of upgrades I like. These synergistic upgrades that continue giving you benefits after the primary effect is gone.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I'm coming around on it. Actually, I'm starting to see some potential for it. So yeah. I do kind of like it now that we've talked about it.
It's not like awesome.
No, I'm not saying it's the I'm not saying it's the end all be all of things, but I do like its kind of uniqueness now that I've kind of walked through it in my head while you guys were talking. I was like, it does fit some interesting themes for a list. So
yeah.
Do you want to talk about Snapshot next?
Yeah, you go ahead and talk about Snapshot.
Okay, so Snapshot reads, after an enemy ship executes a maneuver, you may perform this attack against that ship. It's a 2 attack dice attack that you can make it range 1. The attack text reads, attack 1 ship. You cannot modify your attack dice, and you cannot attack again this phase. This phase is referring to the activation phase, not the combat phase. So you'll still make your normal attack later, but typically you'll be making this attack during the activation phase when someone else moves, like in front of you.
Yeah, that was my one question, was the whole phase thing. So this doesn't eliminate your actual attack during the regular round. So, but when they say modify, they mean you basically can't use focuses to change it. Is that what I'm thinking?
Yeah, there's a bunch of things that count as modifying your dice. Mm-hmm. So I think that this includes, definitely spending focus or rerolling. I think it may also include adding results.
That's what I was curious about, was the whole adding results portion.
No, actually, no, because Jan Ors, you can actually use Jan Ors on this.
So you can roll an extra die. That's okay.
But no, like predators or target locks or what is it, like Dengar crew? None of those types of things can actually do it. But one thing that's cool about Jan Ors is, so this happens after the enemy moves. Maybe you haven't moved yet. Maybe you already have moved. But basically the timing matters. That basically a ship moves in front of you at range 1. Before they get to pick an action, boom, you get a 2 dice attack. Normally you'd think 2 dice, who cares? Mm-hmm. But you can do it before they get any modifiers. So before they get a focus or evade or anything like that. Right. So with Suntir Fel.
Yeah, that's the real strength there, yeah.
Yeah, with Suntir Fel without stealth, let's say, because it was shot off already, he would have just his 3 green dice with no modifiers. So, things like that are cool. And then if you've got, say, Jan Ors, basically Jan Ors in the Hawk says, if you're not stressed, you can boost someone's attack dice, and then you get stressed. But let's say Jan Ors hasn't moved yet. She could go ahead and boost your attack, get stressed, do a green maneuver, or let's say she's got Nien Nunb as a crew, which means as long as she goes straight, it's green. And then she can actually modify it again during the regular combat phase, because it doesn't say once per turn.
Yeah, she can definitely do that kind of thing. And adding another die that you're rolling is not modifying your dice. It's
okay, another randomly stupid question from me. It doesn't specify arc, as far as I can tell. So that means you can fire out of any available arc. So if you have a turret, you can fire this in any direction.
Well, it's a secondary weapon.
Yeah.
And secondary
this is considered a secondary weapon?
It is.
Yeah, because it's got the setup of a secondary weapon. So it's got the little range. It's got the red attack dice. It's got everything like a secondary weapon is done.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I didn't know. I assumed that would have to be in the rules somewhere for it, that it would say, secondary weapon or perform out of primary firing arc. Otherwise, it just sounds like attack an enemy ship, which to me leads the assumption, obviously not the expert, leads me to the assumption I can fire it out of any available arc that I have as my ship, because to me that's what it sounds like thematically, is I'm just shooting at something as it runs in front of me.
Yeah.
It's only an arc. Yeah.
Right. So that's where I'm assuming that's what they want you to think, but how would me as Joe Bob player that just started like 2 weeks ago know that without being told?
They probably will have to eradicate it because you will get that one guy who's looking for loopholes that says, "Well,
it's not a loophole.
No, it's not a loophole. It's just
not a loophole.
not
It's just
immediately
not
clear.
clarified. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Normally, when you see a card of any sort like this, it says specifically, like it would say,
well,
attack one ship when your primary firing arm.
I mean, it doesn't say that for, say, a torpedo, does it?
No, because there's the rules that basically says secondary weapons can't be shot through auxiliary firing arcs. That's more under the auxiliary firing arc rules. And this is set up as if it's a secondary weapon, but it doesn't necessarily.
But it may not be
say
so clear that it's a secondary weapon. That's
right. Yeah, obviously, I don't want to get into the rules portion of it, but is there somewhere in there that defines secondary weapons? Like in the rule book that says a secondary weapon is any installed weapon, like a upgrade card on the ship. Like you see what I'm getting into? It's I'm afraid they've added the rules lawyer loophole. They're like, it doesn't say.
I think it's covered unless someone is trying to take advantage of it and there's an experienced player. I think otherwise I don't think this is like a loophole territory.
Okay, I'm just like I said, I'm looking at it for me and I'm like, wait a minute, this lets me fire from forward arcs, backward arcs, or with my turret if I happen to have one. Is what it sounds. Obviously not specifically with the turret, but that's what it makes me wonder. But then by the same token, I'm firing a snapshot with my hawk that does more damage than my primary weapon.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, I have to say, I saw this.
Wait a minute. How does this work again?
I saw this and I thought for the,
Well, you know what? Actually,
a hawk now is a 2
You know what?
Ship.
It would actually be the same dice because your hawk has 1 dice naturally plus 1 for range.
Oh, range.
So this is actually the weakest. Maybe that's why it's only 2 dice. Because that's the weakest attack that you can have.
Oh, well, you're welcome, everybody, for making sure that all of y'all get a really crappy snapshot instead of 3 dice or 4 dice because of my lowly hawks.
Now, I think a lot of people kind of dismiss this at first, and it doesn't necessarily look like it's all that. Like, it might be kind of neat. But there are some things you can actually do with it, and particularly with, say, like an A-Wing, because on the A-Wing, you can take the test pilot title, which gives you a second EPT. So let's say you take snapshot in something like outmaneuver, where if you're firing at someone from outside their firing arc, but you're in their firing arc, which happens all the time with an A-Wing, boom, you're rolling your 2 attack dice, but they're at -1 green die. Or there's also opportunist, which says if you're attacking someone who doesn't have an evade or focus token, you get an extra red die. So here you are, they move right in front of you, blam. They don't have time to actually get an action yet. You're getting 3 attack dice on them.
Right, and that can get extremely dangerous if, say, you have, 2 or 3 or 4 A-Wings with all this stuff on them, right? Which is not out of the question. So that could be, potentially deadly.
Yeah, they could have opportunist and outmaneuver, which means they're getting 3 red dice and you're at -1 green die, and you've got no focus or evade actions at all. So I don't know. I think there's things you could really do that are kind of neat with this, particularly with A-Wings.
Well, I guess you wouldn't have an A-Wing with snapshot, outmaneuver, and opportunist because that's 3.
True. I forget that this actually takes it. I got a little excited.
Let's not get too crazy.
You did get very excited there. I was actually
like, oh my god!
Jeez,
I've cracked the code. Good. Just give the A-Wings 3 talents.
I got excited. Yeah. Cool. So that's kind of the short and skinny of these different ones. I tend to think that someone like Jess could do really well in, say, Epic.
Yeah, well, I mean, she's going to max out at like 4 dice, right? But
yeah, but it's still pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I wanted to do was to talk about these in the favorite campaign setting of ours, but I kind of wanted to split it off separate so we could actually. I want to talk about these things, but then I wanted to talk about the new expansion in the mind frame of the
Heroes of the Aturi Cluster.
Yeah, so if we wanted to talk about these particular upgrades just from the perspective of Heroes of the Aturi Cluster, and how you could use them, I thought that'd be interesting. Just even specifically, just do Hot AC and to talk about it.
Right. So
yeah,
I've got a
absolutely.
bunch
There's
of
lots
these.
of stuff here.
I could go for about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So you want to? Let's go like a round robin.
And let's start with the
yeah.
pilot, or do we want to pick which of these upgrades that we want to talk
Let's just,
about?
like,
or
talk
do we
about.
Just...
Let's just talk about like builds that you could do. That's what I have ready anyway. Is like, what combos can you make using the new pilot talents and pilot abilities that have come out recently? That's what I'm ready for anyway.
He's more prepared than I am. I didn't do any homework.
We'll start with you with Nien Nunb. So what do you think of Nien Nunb?
So, Nien Nunb has there's so much potential with him in terms of doing stuff that gives you stress, right? So, one setup that I have with him is on a B-Wing pilot. You have the Nien Nunb pilot ability. You have Stay on Target. You have Sabine pilot ability, which I'm also, I guess, taking a liberty in including here. And you have Rage. Then, maybe you have either Finn crew or C-3PO crew. And advanced sensors or sensor jammers. So what we've got here is a B-Wing that can program a 2-speed maneuver and just pick whatever the hell he wants with Stay on Target, as long as it gets him within range 1 of an enemy ship. He can ignore the stress that comes from that ability. He can also use Sabine to do a booster barrel roll before that, so there really should be no excuse for you not managing to land an enemy ship in range 1, because you booster barrel roll.
I think the Sabine portion really does it, because if you don't have a boost ability or barrel roll, then it gets hard to actually take advantage of it. But with Sabine or whatnot, I think that does make that viable.
It should really seal the deal, because you could practically go anywhere with this, and you decide when you reveal your maneuver.
The only problem I see with this is that it's a PS7. That once you get to that point, are there better ones that you can take? Because there are other ones like Hobby has, or there's different. I should say there's different mechanics you could do to relieve stress at lower pilot skills. So, when you get to PS7, is that the one that you want to take?
Well, what pilot stress relieving? Well, 'cause when you get you have the target lock mechanic for getting the stress off, but
easy for me. I love Hobby and targeting astromech in Heroes of the Aturi Cluster, because if you do a red maneuver, you get a free target lock, and with Hobby's ability, as soon as you get or spend a target lock, you lose the stress. So. Of course, with that, you have to take targeting astromech. You can't.
Puts you in a X-wing or a Y-wing.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I guess there's different things, but yeah, it's not a bad option.
And in a B-wing, you can also have crew. So maybe you can add C-3PO for extra defense, or Finn for extra offense. Or you could do any number of other crew.
True.
But those are the ones that I like.
I thought it was interesting and you could probably use it, but it wasn't necessarily like, incredibly cool. It wasn't amazing, but viable.
Yeah, another way you can use Nien is Nien's ability plus Eden Vrill's ability plus R3A2. So the R3A2 Astromech gives an enemy ship stress when you declare the attack, and then Eden Vrill's ability lets you increase your lets you roll another attack die if your target is stressed, and Nien lets you avoid getting the stress from that ability pair. So that's pretty cool too.
That is cool. All right. So if we move on to Snap Wexley, I think we might have to have an official ruling, on this, because basically you do a 2, 3, or 4 speed maneuver and you get a free boost action. Well, what if how many ships actually have boost actions? The only way you can really, because all the ships in the Aturi Cluster, the only way to get a boost is if you take engine upgrade. Well, this way you don't have to have an engine upgrade. You just take his ability and you get a free boost.
Mm-hmm.
Points. But right here, the Snap Wexley has boost on his X-Wing. He's just taking a free advantage of what's already in his action bar. But if you take it as it is, then boom, you're getting a free boost without even having engine upgrade, which is a little cheaty. So, I don't know. I don't know. Would you allow that, or do you think that it would need a ruling from the official creator of Here's the Aturi Cluster?
I don't know if we're allowing Sabine. Then I don't see a problem with this one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'd kind of have to agree with that. If you're allowing other cards that give you one for free, you kind of have to let this one in too.
Well, but
I mean, the question would be would we allow Sabine also? But
right, because Sabine's not official yet in the rules, So I guess that's the question: would Sabine be allowed to? Could you use Sabine's ability as well, boost barrel roll free?
This might be one that gets modified in the next, sort of how Big's ability is modified for use in the campaign. I wouldn't be surprised if Josh did that. They just changed the wording, so if you have the boost action in your upgrade bar, or if you're in your action bar, then you can do a free boost action.
Now, this has another dumb question from the dummy of the show. When they have examples of this, I guess, are bad, but in the existing game, if a card essentially allows you to give another card, that sort of thing. So I'm going to use Dutch as an example. Allow another ship to use a target lock. If he doesn't, for whatever reason, have the target lock ability, he can't take a target lock, right? Or can he for that one turn? So by that rule, then it makes sense that this would allow him to take a boost anyway, even if they don't have boost on the bar. I mean, if the main game does, there's no reason that heroes would take that away from you.
I mean, no reason that's in the rule book. But, just because there's no rule that says the dog can't fly an X-Wing doesn't mean that you should let the dog fly an X-Wing, right?
Right, I understand. But it's still, I guess what I'm going after is if the main game says it's okay for a ship that doesn't have a target lock to use a target lock in these very specific instances, then I don't see why. I mean, I get that it seems very unbalancing because I'm sitting there thinking, that lets the Y-Wings do all sorts of crazy maneuvers. Yeah. It lets the Hawk do all sorts of crazy maneuvers, and nothing's wrong with that. But at the same time, you are spending a higher level elite pilot slot on your ship for it.
That's also true. A lot of those abilities are quite good.
Yeah, once you get into that level, you're starting to get in very, very powerful and game-changing abilities.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, I could go either way.
Yeah, I think it's interesting.
So what do we want to talk about? Let's talk about Jess Pava's ability. So
that one I like.
Yeah.
I do like that one from my standpoint as a support ship, like as a defensive ship. I love that ability because for me, the Y-wing that I've built for our campaign is using Biggs, and if I'm using Biggs, just tax onto it in my opinion, because I know I've got at least one ship that's within range that I'm going to get that extra reroll with. And even though I don't have a lot of evade dice on the Y-wing, it still helps. Every reroll helps when it comes to evade. So,
and it would help if you move into a Hawk at some point.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Although the Hawk's a little bit more maneuverable somehow, but
so what else would you?
I think it's
put
good
on that ship to like what kind of a build would you be aiming for?
I think anyone can use Jess. I'd say that
anybody can use it. I'm thinking the problem comes into, I guess, are you going to build your list around like really focusing on her ability, or is it going to be something you're throwing in to kind of boost what you're already scheming with, what your whole kind of overarching plan is for a ship? I'd have to look at it on my Y-wing, because my Y-wing is essentially a damage shield for everything. So it's got Biggs. It eventually will have Chewbacca and what was one? Blount, however he says his name. And although that doesn't sound offensive, and then Miranda. And the reason Blunt's there is actually for the ability to use the ion cannon and not have to worry about hitting with it. And with that one combined with Miranda, I can take a shot off. I can take a die off the ion cannon, not worry about it hitting every turn, and regen a shield is kind of the combo between those two. But that's very expensive for one sort of ability. So I'm always looking at that higher tier, because those are higher tier EPTs, to find something more efficient points-wise. Because that's a lot, obviously. That's really two high-level things to do essentially one trick. Automatically ionizing a ship and regenning a shield every turn. So
I see this as a replacement for Predator. I mean, Predator is one of those you don't really build the list around Predator, but it's one of those that massively helps you. And to me, this is a replacement for Predator, because I mean, we usually try to go in together to, like, a lot of times you play in a mission and there's, say, the two squadrons of TIE fighters that start off. And we've done it where we go after one squad, like all of us go after one of those squads to try to take him out fast, which means you've got a lot of your guys around you, at least one. And with this, it's also on defense, which is like if you're in an X-Wing, 2 green dice with 1 free reroll is great. And if you've got 2 guys around you, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And to me, this is not something that you even have to really build your list around, but it's just this is an alternative Predator.
So, why are you happy about that?
Well,
if Predator you find Predator distasteful now?
Well,
I certainly do.
Yeah, he does.
So why are we excited about this?
Because
why aren't we outraged?
I'm not outraged because
not
I
outraged
still think it's good. I think there's still requirements, like if you find yourself not around
Predator, dadgummit, because you could take that when you start your ship. You at least have to survive for a while before you can get it. That's why I'm not as outraged.
Can't you get this at the same time that you could get
No,
Predator?
actually, you can get it at the same time you can get Predator. Yeah. PS3, which is amazing.
And this is
I guess
cheaper,
true.
I think. Because the EPTs are double cost and the pilot skill abilities are normal cost. So this is a three credit or point.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, it is it's actually.
I think you should be outraged.
You see, Predator works all the time, though.
Through you.
I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll
you have to.
Although,
I mean, you have to work a little
it,
bit, like just a little bit, to make this happen.
Right.
But you can abuse it a lot
You can't fly
more.
off and be that screw you guys, and take off into the distance like you can with Predator.
But it's not that hard to make this trigger, though.
Right.
But as long as you're hanging with the team, I guess it's a little bit better in my book. But I don't even know if they make the adjustment that Josh was talking about, where at higher levels you wouldn't just be fighting pilot skill 1 ties. Then Predator won't even be that big of an issue long term. But as it is now, obviously it's a massive problem. But or in my opinion, massive problem. But
so
I don't
this
know.
to me is a nice alternative, and it may not be as powerful, or who knows if you've got if you really have like a couple people around you. Like if you've got 2 guys around you, you're getting
Yeah, I mean that's
2
all it
dice
takes.
roll on the attack and 2 on every defense. I don't know.
Yeah, and you stick yourself out front, so you're getting all those rerolls.
And let's see, you've got
tanking.
Big's ability.
Yeah, and then you could go in the back and
Yeah.
tank big time.
Yeah,
You stick a
so if
stealth
someone's got
device on
Biggs, it
that.
would work, or even just anything would work. I think overall, I think there's enough.
Nobody
variety,
takes
like
bigs though. You know that. Everybody
Yeah.
makes fun of anybody who takes bigs on their ship in that campaign. 'Cause those
Right.
people are just stupid. You'd never do that.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I think
could see
I
this
think it's
like
still not every time, but
yeah,
it's,
I could see this with if you really wanted to tank it out, you could go with a Hawk, Jespava ability, Biggs ability, Recon Specialist, Moldy Crow. Get a bunch of focus tokens, sit in the back of the formation, maybe get a stealth device, so you're rolling like typically 4 green dice with 2 or 3 rerolls, depending on how many people you have with you. You can just absorb shots like nobody's business.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Biggs only works once per turn or something with.
It's once per turn, and they have to be within range 1. I think, isn't that right?
which is good with her ability.
Or you could just forget Biggs and go in the front, and they'll target you anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know the idea of flying a hawk at the tip of the spear is a little concerning.
Maybe you could go with an
do
A-wing.
think going with vectored thrusters or engine upgrade for the boost or barrel roll to help ensure that you've got somebody at range 1 is a good idea.
Oh no, I'm already seeing these and making a devious plan for a hawk that is just essentially what is it, an interceptor in disguise. I'm going to take vector thrusters. I'm going to take Snap's ability. I'm going to take all these crazy things on a hawk just so I can just dance around.
Sabine ability, man. That's what you want.
Well, you never know. I'll see. I have to look at it more closely. I'm just thinking in my head all the crazy things, and then I can throw snapshot on there just so I can fire my blaster out the window and do more damage than my ship does. So.
Yeah, I think her ability would even be great on an X-wing. I see it as I do take Predator on a lot of my guys. I've been trying not to lately, like the one with Daredevil is my latest, but I do take Predator. I like this as just an alternative to it, so I think it's cool.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think it's gonna seem cool until people start using it, and then it's gonna seem uncool because everyone's gonna use it.
Yeah, then I'll start playing it. Let's give it some time.
Yeah.
Here's another thought. With R7, it only works if someone's attacking you, I believe. But if
well, that's this. I mean, I just lost the thing. Sorry, I was watching the game. You have to target the specific enemy for you to adjust that die, their attack die. So it almost feels like it's more useful. Now that we started with it, it almost sounds like it's more useful to target your own player. And in Hot AC, obviously ideas running through my head. I'd have to see them all in front of me. But the idea of taking a true support ship, Dutch with the ability to pass out target locks, or just the one with the it's not experimental interface, Jesus, weapons engineer, to, hey, I'm going to target, a couple ships and try and help out as a defensive minded character. Oh, I know Jim's, X-Wing's about to get obliterated. I can at least point at 2 ships and adjust their dice for a turn, or for as long as necessary.
Yeah. R7 works
sound
only
interesting.
on defense. But like this one, you could throw it on an enemy and they could be firing at somebody else, but you can make them modify their dice.
Right, yeah, and that's what's interesting to me is in Hot AC you can put that on a ship and you can play with the target lock a little bit more fluidly, in my opinion, than you can in just a straight up death match, because you can see in a lot of ways where the enemy is going to come from and where they're going to attack, and you can better plan who to absorb the attacks every turn. Or who's going to get the better shot. You're like, okay, you're going to line up to fire a missile that we need to hit. All right, well, congratulations, I'm going to hit you with the target lock. So when Jim's firing his ion pulse, for example, like, I'm going to make sure you get the shot, and just that one extra die sometimes helps because you got to burn a target lock for a lot of those munitions. So I see it as a very helpful for a support ship, which I enjoy playing.
Yeah,
And-
I agree with you on that.
And if you also hit someone's dice and make them get a hit, you get a support experience.
I would think so. I mean,
Yeah.
it's obviously not written out there, but it makes sense as a general, as part of the general rule.
And if you've
You
got
use my
weapons
reroll
engineer and
to
you've got 2 out, you should get 2 experience points, I believe, because there's no limit on.
Conceivably, yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. So I think in hot AC it might even be more useful than a regular game. What do you think about that, Phil?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff here. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the next version, and I think that it's probably fine to like use some of this stuff in a campaign, like now. But it'll be interesting to see what these all look like once they've been filtered through the actual design process, and what things change. Like, will Snap Wexley's ability be modified?
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah, I have no problem adding in like vector thrusters now, but when you get things like Snap,
and
get cautious.
And if any of you guys think you see anything out there that is, broken, then it may not be a bad idea to bring it up. There's a Facebook group for Heroes of the Aturi Cluster, custom campaigns, missions, and rules. I think Josh takes a look at that once in a while. So if you put something there, he'll see it.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know.
We could maybe pass something along ourselves if you want to email it to us directly. If we see something like Crazy Broken that's not in the game now, but would eventually be if he added all the abilities. Like, for example, I'm pretty sure he's gonna be all over this, but the new Heroes Han Solo ability, where you can
That's the
deploy
one
anywhere.
I was just thinking that one too.
Yeah.
I think that's where I could see Han being used. Really well. I'm like, wow, that would be really nasty with my crazy defensive super support ship. I'm gonna throw Han on there instead at the top, and I'll just watch some things circle me for a while.
Give that ability to a ship with like a ion torpedo, so we can just start behind a group of ties, give them the ion torpedo, and then just walk them around like a bunch of dogs on a leash.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure you could do some crazy crap with that. Get objectives, protect objectives super early on. Yeah. There's a ton of reasons why that would be broken. So I don't think we need to alert Josh to that. I think he's probably smart enough.
Isn't it? It's a pilot skill 9.
Yeah,
right?
it's a pilot skill 9, so we wouldn't get into a while, but it would break things once you did.
Cool. All right. Does anyone have a strong opinion about Snapshot they want to go into?
I think it would be fun. I just, I don't know how often I would use it in Heroes. I know that a lot of times you end up in a cluster at one point, but with everything else, I don't know that I'd want to burn a slot on it, to be honest with you.
The other thing about this is that a lot of times in Heroes, the ships that are really nasty that you're worried about killing anyway actually get focus actions before they move, I think. Like interceptors. So it's not maybe not worth it at that point.
Unless you want to spend it, unless you want to just have them waste it so they're not, lining up for your wingman, at a range 1 with 3 or 4 shots with a focus.
Yeah. I think though you would use it enough, because I think often there's a giant cluster or they all move in front of you. I think you could get to use it, but I agree that I probably wouldn't. There's too many other things I'd get first.
Yeah, maybe not in hot AC.
In a sense, it is still technically another attack. So, without knowing, are there things out there that proc off an attack that would be able to proc off of this? Not necessarily other attacks or extra dice, but things like, I guess, the fire control system, for example, where you haven't had a chance to target lock, but hey, ding, I got one now that sets up my attack later in the round. I'm just asking the experts. Are there ones I'm not thinking of that have pilot abilities and stuff that could proc off of this, since it is considered an attack, that might be usable?
Oh no, there's fire control systems. I can't even think of any other ones, but definitely that there are, things that you could use. Yes. I can't think of any off the top of my head right now, but I'm sure.
Putting you on the spot. What are you talking about? Y'all are the encyclopedias. You're supposed to know these cars by heart.
I blame the payments.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll let you go then.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think overall it's okay. It's not bad. I'm sure someone's probably concocted some combo that's going to be nasty, but yeah, I probably wouldn't go with it, at least from this perspective. Of course, 2 months down the road, someone's come out with a super uber combo, but yeah.
The internet will provide where you guys have failed me. I'll just have to give it time.
Now, at this point, I did want to eventually talk about some B lists, at least the B list that I came up with some of the new ships. But there's also, I think, was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 other upgrades that we could talk about from the Heroes of Aturi Cluster perspective from the previous releases. Basically, talk about Ray pilot, Ray crew, Chewbacca pilot, and Finn crew. Do we want to kind of even sort of quickly go through those now, or are we running close to time?
I can give her a quick opinion. I don't know how often I would use Chewbacca's because
Yes.
I would think the whole point is to keep your squad mates alive. not to let
Yeah.
them die.
Yeah, Chewbacca, no. Ray, yes.
Yeah,
Ray would be
absolutely on that
great.
one.
Yeah, Chewbacca,
especially as a frontline tank.
Chewbacca, for those that don't remember, the new Chewbacca, when another friendly ship is destroyed at range 1 to 3, you get a free attack. So hopefully you'll never need to use Chewbacca's ability. But Ray, when attacking or defending, if the enemy ship is inside your firing arc, you may reroll up to 2 of your blank results, which is pretty darn cool.
I think that's really great.
Yeah. You're
Can
the
you
guy.
remind me of Ray's off the top of my head? I can't remember her.
Yeah, that's it. So Ray's ability, when you're attacking or defending, if the enemy ship is inside your firing arc, you may reroll up to 2 blank results.
All right.
So you're the guy who the entire TIE swarm's firing at. Boom, boom, boom. You get to reroll.
Get a lot of rerolls.
Blank green dice all around if they're in your firing arc. Or for shooting, you get the reroll. So pretty darn cool. Imagine that in your X-wing. Put that in your X-wing and smoke it. So yeah. So I think Ray is awesome. Ray is probably one of the best abilities I think at this point. Yeah,
So can that combo with the Finn crew? If you assuming you have a ship that can take a crew. So where Finn gives you a blank result, then you could theoretically re-roll that result if essentially giving
that, I think, every time.
Yeah, giving a Hawk essentially a third, in a sense, it's agility die that he can theoretically re-roll with Ray.
Sure.
When attacking with a primary weapon or defending, if the enemy ship is inside your firing arc, you may add 1 blank result. So, which you can then modify through, I don't know, Predator, or through the Ray special ability, or through the gate?
Through Jess.
M9
right?
gate.
So I could use Jess on that too, right?
Yeah, Jess ability, all sorts of things. You could use to actually modify that blank result.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say both of those are really feasibly good cards for Hot AC. Finn, just being a crew, you can throw him on there as soon as you can afford him. So I think that's really nice, even as just a start. Even though Ray you might have to work up to for a while.
Yeah. There's also the Ray crew. At the start of the end phase, you may place 1 of your ship's focus tokens on this card. At the start of the combat phase, you may assign 1 of these tokens to your ship. So basically, in Hot AC, you've got, 2 ships that can take crew. One of them is the Hawk, which can take the Molded Crow. The Molded Crow is a title which doesn't use up your crew slot, and it's a better method than this. So you're really only looking at this for the ARC 170. The only time you'd ever really want to use her. But I did think of something really cool. Let's say you've got the ARC 170 and you've got advanced proton torpedoes. The range 1 5 attack die. you can change 3 blank results into an eyeball. This way you grab the target lock, and you've got that focus that Ray's been keeping. Throw that out there and nail someone with a...
Yeah, that's pretty nasty.
Yeah, and you can do it extra munitions because it's a modification, so you'll have 2 of them. You can do it twice a game. So I don't know if it's worth it really to use your crew slot on Ray, but I mean,
if you want to use advanced proton torpedoes, you could use that with Finn also. He'll give you a blank result, and you can turn it right into an eyeball.
Oh. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It was like if I can throw Finn on there,
that'll give you 6 dice.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, it'll cost you.
Right.
5 points, 6 points, I guess, if you extra munitions.
Yeah.
You get a whole new ship. You can buy your own ship for that much.
Yeah, but it's a really good 2 tricks. So that's I'd fly in, destroy 2 things, and then all right, guys, we'll see you. I'll be back next time.
Yeah. I should say that they're actually the new illicits would work in Hot AC because the Hawk can get an illicit slot. So we're looking at the Burnout Slam, and we're looking at dropping the dead Ewoks out the back.
Well, I think Burnout Slam is large ship only, no?
No, yes, it is large ship only, and maybe even so about the dead Ewoks too. So.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so maybe not so much, but oh well. All right.
It's a good thought. I saw where you were going.
All right. So I know we're coming to the end. I'm hoping we can squeeze in one B team.
I think
I know it's late, but just squeeze one in because I'm excited about it.
Yeah, squeeze it in. Go ahead.
All right. So B team, go.
Watch it, you've got one on your tail. Yes, I can hold it. No.
All right. So this list, I started to come up with an idea of I want to use one of the new ships, and I thought of using Jess Pava, and I thought about going with just a bunch of Z95 headhunters, just kind of to see. But I saw something on one of these threads that just tickled me so pink, I had to throw it in this list. And it came up with the title of the list as well, Raging Porkins. So Porkins.
Oh, I like having Porkins on the list. Those are always fun.
I love Porkins' list. So Porkins with R5D8, so basically he, if he spends an action, he rolls the green die on an eyeball or evade, he removes it. So 5 out of 8, you can remove damage. Give him a whole upgrade, because that's better than integrated astromech overall, because he can actually heal those damage. But then give him rage. So basically, you can, use the die, the Porkins die to actually say, oh, first stress, roll. Oh, you remove it with no damage. Let's go for the second stress. Boom. You could actually, get all the benefit of rage with absolutely no downside, and hopefully don't take a hit. If you do, maybe next round you'll repair it. Because it goes through shields and it hits your hull, and you can use R5D8 next turn and just repair it again. But man, Raging Porkins, 3 attack dice. You get to re-roll 3 attack dice, and you get a focus for defense or a focus for the offense if you need it. But I just love the idea of a Raging Porkins out there. So Raging Porkins, and I've got Jess Pava with integrated astromech, and I went with BB-8 just because that way she could make sure to get a barrel roll to try to stay, within range 1 of some people, and primed thrusters, which gives her the, she can barrel roll or boost if she's stressed, because she probably really needs it to stay within range. And then I went with 2 Z95 headhunters, 2 Tal Squadron, which are the PS4 versions with homing missiles and guidance chips. So those each are 18 points, and I couldn't quite, if I didn't go with the missiles, but I kind of wanted something that they're threats on their own, and then there's Jess. But once the Talas really use up their homing missiles, because those are pretty potent with the guidance chip and homing missiles, and then they're just kind of little Z95s, but along with next to Jess, they're actually pretty useful still.
Yeah, and it might be tough for them to get those missiles off, though. Going
possibly,
at low
yeah.
skill.
But with the PS4, at least looking at say, jump masters, you can still throw them out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not a thing, and I had a few points left over, and I threw a plasma torpedo onto Jess just because, with the rerolls, because it was only 3 points, and grab the target lock. You spend the target lock to fire it, but if you've got the rerolls with the ships nearby, you could potentially be. It's like a homing missile.
Yeah, it's not bad.
So, yeah. So that's my list overall. Rage and Porkins. Porkins with Rage, his repair bot, hull upgrade. Jess Pava with plasma torpedo, BB-8, prime thrusters, integrated astromech, and then 2 homing missile guidance chip Talus squadrons.
Yeah, I mean, if it didn't have Porkins, I wouldn't be for it, but it has Porkins. So.
Porkins gives you a couple more points up the scale.
Oh, absolutely. It absolutely gives you some street cred.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like it overall. I think it's fun. And so maybe you shoot the Z95s first, but if they actually get their missiles off and they're still alive, then that's pretty good. You kind of wasted those early shots.
Porkins gets you if you ignore him.
Yeah, Porkins, man, Rage and Porkins will get you.
I'm kind of joking, but if he gets in range one of you, he can really kill you.
Yeah, 4 dice. You're re-rolling 3 of them, and he's got to focus.
That's probably 4 hits.
I really want
very nasty combo.
I really want to try Rage and Porkins at some point. All right. So that's my B team. I figure I can get it in pretty quick because I talk quickly, but I was excited just for the Rage and Porkins concept, and I'm sure someone's probably already thought of it and posted online and etc. But I thought of it, or I even read it somewhere else, and I thought it was awesome, and I want to try it sometime. All right, so I think that about sums it up for tonight. Is that right, guys?
Yeah, I think that's all.
Right. You got Andor coming up on the scopes here.
Yep. So once again, a reminder, please send in your entries. There've been a few, so not a tremendous overload. So even if you don't think they're that good, you might win. You might be just that bit funnier than everyone else. So go ahead and don't let his JBot proxies win the awards. So
I don't know why y'all are accusing me of this. That's just not right.
All right. So everybody, thanks again for listening to the Shuttle Tydirium, and we'll chat again next week. Have a good night.
See ya.
Good night.
Later.